So recently, a guy on Instagram reached out to me saying, "Hey Sahil, your videos are helpful to me shaping my outreach messages." And he has requested to make this particular video about the outreach principles. Now, very good point and very good idea that he shared with me. So I thought, why not to create an outreach principle or my philosophies that I used for outreach. So let's get into it, right? So what's outreach? Basically, let's go to the very basics of the first principles and let's understand what outreach actually is. So outreach is something you reaching out to your prospect, right, in any shape or form, by physically meeting them, texting them online, or anyhow you have to target this particular person and you need to make sure your message or you can communicate with this person. This is all outreach is. Okay, imagine you get so good at this that people actually starts to appreciate what you do, and then they ask you to do the outreach for them. Like, this is one of the prospect that I reached out to, and he said, would you be doing outreach for me? And I said, like, sounds like an opportunity, and now he's my client. It's like if I told you to reach out to Mark Zuckerberg, then you will have to find his email or how to meet him in person or any other particular detail that helps you to reach out to Mark Zuckerberg. Seems easy, right? But it's not. The problem starts when every single person is reaching out to the same person, right? So the problem starts when you and more people like you are trying to reach out to the same person. This is when the real problem starts. Because, for example, if every single person started to reach out to Mark Zuckerberg, then this would be a problem. Why? Because there are very less chances that Mark probably reply to you, or you get into his DMs, or he even reads your email. So it's very hard, right? This is how the actual freelancing or the outreach game works. Hard to get clients. So how do you be different? So the problem is you look like everyone else. For example, I have to reach out to a fitness coach, right? And then how it looks like in a group of people, you are the same individual and you are trying to reach out to the same coach like everyone else. So how you can be different is you separate out of from the group and you stand individually and you be very selective about what you are doing, and you don't have to be like everyone else. So let's fundamentally break down what are my philosophies when it comes to outreach. So first of all, what actually matters trying to do outreach is volume, personalization, being selective, using stimulation, not outsourcing what you have to do, and testing and tracking and using your brains and having faith, because the game is last man standing. And let me show you some example of what outreach looks like. Basically, what this whole thing looks like. So I'll give you a bad example and a good one. So a bad example would be this, because there's no personalization. This guy didn't even use my name and talked about himself, nothing about me. So this is what a bad example looks like. A better example would be this. Like, for example, again, the same guy. So for example, your audience need this. Hi, name. Noticed you have this particular amount of following and you love health advice. I've built something for you to help you turn that into some cash. Should I send it or not? Very straightforward, very short, but better. If you have any particular question or you need help, you will find a link in my description for one-to-one with me. You can just go in the description and you will find the first link to hop on a one-to-one with me. So let's continue. Okay, let's break it down. Okay, volume. So very simple. The higher the volume, the more room for test. The lower the volume, the less room for test. Very simple, right? You don't have to complicate it. The more outreach you do, the more you can test. The less outreach you do, the less room for test. Okay. Next thing, personalization. Now there are two types of personalization. First of all, personalization is important. I'm not against it, but it matters on, because the personalization ruins the game of volume. Okay. If you have 10 hours a day and each personalization is taking you 40 to 50 minutes, and you can probably send just 11 to 10 message per day because it's going to take your time. And a semi-personalized message is where you have a particular amount of knowledge about a particular person or about a group of person. So for example, like fitness coach, and then you have notice a pattern that every single fitness coach follows the same exact thing. So you can pinpoint that particular thing about that, and then you can turn it into a semi-personalized that you can share with everyone. Okay, but still needs to be personalized. So here's two example of personalization. Again, the same example, semi-personalized, because I have used this headline and then the name. Because if you don't understand all this thing why I'm showing you this, you can go and check out my outreach video where I've broken down my own outreach like this, and you can get an idea about how I draft my outreach messages. Okay, so there's a headline, name, notice, particular X number of following, because that needs to be personalized. I've built a free this, should I send it or not? And see, the only thing that you need to care about when you're doing outreach is if you're getting response or not, because if you're not getting response, then you are probably doing something wrong. A hyper personalized would be, hey, name, I don't usually text randomly, but here's the thing. Your recent reels recently start to pop on my feed, and this you can take a look at it. But I watched your YouTube video recently about how you set up a date, again, the video topic, and I shared that with a friend story who was about to go on a date. A day later, now that guy thinks that I'm a savior, so wanted to say thank you. Again, appreciating. Now he pays more attention to my words. Again, this is just a story, okay? Also, a quick suggestion. I took a very close look at your video on YouTube and you were using an iPad to draw. Why don't you use a Miro like itself? And that would be more visually appealing to your viewers. So this is very hyper personalized. Okay, it's a long and it takes time to read, so everyone not has that time to read. Be very focused and be very selective, and very, you have to stand out differently. So you have to do this type of shit, man. It's like not easy, but yeah, it definitely gets you response. And I got a response over this message, which I have not shared because this was again very long. So next thing, both works, it's up to you. Be creative and aka use your brain, because if you're not using your common sense or your brain, then you're not going to make it. Okay, the next thing, be selective. So what I mean by being selective is, first of all, when you're trying to target everyone, like every single one, like coach, creators, all entrepreneurs, like anyone you can seem to get, it's not going to work, because you need to target one identity or one persona to make sure your outreach work, or the principles. Basically, these are the principles. So first of all, get clear with your ICP. What ICP stands for? ICP is like ideal client profile, or ICA means, if you're an agency, ideal agency client profile. So you need to get clear with this. Who are you trying to outreach and who you need to get attention from? So on these categories, you can qualify your people. Okay, the qualify your prospects. First of all, the qualification looks like this. Qualify on the number of followers. Like if you want to target a particular person who is under 10k following or 20k or 15k, it depends totally up to you. What kind of content do they post? Do they just post carousel post or not posting reels? Or if they are posting reels, and when they are posting reels, the frequency of posting, the last posted date. If you are targeting someone who has posted last like 2 months ago, probably they are not going to respond, because maybe they are not active on Instagram at the moment, or maybe they have just stopped uploading content. If they're active on stories or not. Next thing, who you are going to target: coaches, creator, entrepreneurs, or any other kind of person you want to target. Coaches have very different niches. Even creator have very different niches. Entrepreneur, again, a dropshipping entrepreneur, or a agency one, or in multiple forms. Okay, you understand, right? Male or female. Age, do you want to target the young people or the adults or the people who are in their 30s, 40s? Particular, be very selective about this. Okay. Outreach platform, which outreach platform are you going to use? IG, LinkedIn, Facebook, or email? It all depends. That's why you need to be very selective when it comes to this, if you want to stand out. Okay, the next principle that I follow, and pay attention to this. Okay, your job is to get their attention, so you need to identify what triggers. Okay, being relevant triggers. Okay, pain triggers, status triggers, curiosity, proof, future possibility, and challenge or scarcity, exclusivity, or pattern interrupt. Pattern interrupt is kind of different, but it is a triggering point. You need to stimulate their brain. You need to understand that what you are trying to do is get their attention, and how you get their attention is you need to identify, if you are targeting one of these people, okay, what exactly are you going to use when you need to stimulate them? So for example, if you're using Instagram, then what are you going to send? Is it a direct message? Is it a voice note? Is it a story reply? Is it being like adding them to your close friend list and then uploading a video for them, or like leaving a voice note for them, or having comments on their like reels? What are you gonna do? That matters a lot. As an example, I've shared you what you can do on Instagram, LinkedIn, emails. Everything works, but you need to understand to be very selective, and this is what will differentiate you from other people. And you need to be different, because if everyone is doing the same thing, you are not going to make it. There's very less probability. So be focused and be very selective about what you're going to do. Okay, next, find high points, because if you have higher points, like if you can understand what will actually trigger them to respond to you, then you probably have high chances. And the close friend story method works, and I've tried it, it works. So what you can do is add them to your close friend list, and you can also like make a short video about them, introducing yourself and pitching your offer or whatever you have. But it is good enough for, don't outsource it. Okay, and do it yourself, because if you don't know what you're doing, then there's very less chances that person is going to respond. And if you're already looking to outsource this, then yeah, it's not a good point to do it right now. I have done outsourcing my this particular messages, which got me results like this. People are interested to what we are doing, and of course we booked some meetings too. I did it when I understood what I'm doing. So if you don't understand what you're doing, it's probably not a good time to outsource this, because a lot of people like you who are lazy, I understand that this stuff is hard, but it doesn't mean like you should outsource this particular format or like the whole thing when it works for you. Because if it's not working for you, probably the person you outsource it to won't understand the thing either, and then again you won't get results that you desire to. So next thing, again, test and track everything. Because first of all, for tracking, you can use Notion or Google Sheets, and you need to track everything. By everything, I mean everything. The leads, the status of the leads, the URLs, everything means everything, okay? So what kind of prospect you are trying to reach, you should have exact data of that prospect on a sheet or a Notion doc, whatever you use. Status, if you have sent the outreach, if you are following up, if you are doing anything else, you need to have the status. If they, even if they blocked you, okay, even if they said no, negative response, positive response, you need to note that all down, because that's what's going to help you. Okay, URLs, if they have Instagram, YouTube, website, everything that you have got, you need to have that data in that particular sheet, because that helps you to get closer to that person. This is all outreach is about, how close you can get to a person and how quick you can try to get their response. This is all outreach means, reaching out to someone, and then you need to test out what works for you. Then testing. So testing has a very simple rule, okay? You test one particular thing, then you make a iteration on that, and then you repeat the same thing, and then you test the thing again. So it's a cycle that you need to get into. And when I mean by testing, I mean testing everything. Short message, like I've shown you before, long message, personalized, semi-personalized, videos, voice notes, looms, scripts, everything. Okay. Don't leave any room for anything, because if you're trying to make sure this work, then you need to leave no room for testing. Okay. Everything should be done on point, very precisely. And if you want to get results, then things should be very clear from your end, and that what makes you different from everyone else. Okay. The last thing, not the last thing, I mean, yeah, use your brain or chromosomes or chromosomes. Okay, so a normal human body contains 46 chromosomes. Okay, and if you have one or two missing, you can be in a big trouble. If you're a normal human person and you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're normal. So what I mean by this, if you don't apply common sense to your practices, you don't have any chance to win, because everyone, after watching this video, imagine a lot of people trying to do the same thing. What do you think? What will make you different from other people? If you don't use your common sense, even after testing and implementing everything that I said, common sense will take you far ahead. Because, for example, I just showed you my outreach example, right? If you just copy paste the same thing, what makes you think that this will work? Because what I have did, I've used my common sense. You have to use your common sense, and then you need to understand what will get me reply. Use this, very important. Okay, a lot of people just try to copy paste the same thing, they work like robots, they are not using their human brain. So be very selective about these things, because this is the most important thing, I swear to God. Okay, the next thing, if you have 46, I'm sure of these, I'm sure you have got common sense too. Use your brain to figure out how you can be different than rest of the people in the world trying to compete with you, with testing, personalization, messages, trigger points, stimulation, everything that we have discussed above. You need to be using everything and then try to figure out what's going to work. Okay, the next thing, last, have faith. Because if you don't have faith, the game is last man standing. If you have seen WWE, which I guess everyone has seen, life is like this. Okay, you have to be in the ring to the last. Okay, if you have to win the game, you will be the last person to standing in the game, because otherwise, like, you have to throw every person out of this ring, and then you are going to win it. So the last person in the rings win. For you, this means the person with the most consistent volume, iteration, and practice and tests wins the game. Okay, you have to be very consistent, your volume should be high, your iteration should be on point, you have to test and try everything, you need to practice a lot, and you need to test a lot of things. Once you have figured this out, every single day, like practicing a religion. Okay, so this should be this is my philosophy. Okay, so every single day it should look like you are practicing it, and then you're trying to improve it. And once you get to a certain point where you know what you're doing, then you can probably outsource it, or then you need to implement it on a scale where you can get most money out of this with less of the volume. Okay, and then the last person in the game who, of course, stands wins. Wins what? Wins the money, wins the client, wins the relationship, wins the connection, wins everything basically a person would desire to. So that's pretty much it. I hope this whole video makes a lot much sense to you. These are my personal philosophy, or how I do my outreach, and this helps me get results like this. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. And if you would like to have a particular topic to be explained, just let me know over DM me on Instagram or just comment on this video. I will make sure to make the particular request video that you ask for. Okay. Thank you so much for watching and bye bye.